Right now we'd like to dive into the course, and if you don't mind, I'd like to open with prayer. We always open our classes with prayer, and each week I'll do that, and I will pray for you. Now I know that I'm in a different time, in a different place from where you are, but I believe that God has united our hearts and that He will allow us to pray together. So rather than just fast forwarding through this portion of the video, I would ask that you really do bow with me, and let's go to the Lord together. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the people who right now are viewing this. I thank you that they have a desire within their hearts to play this instrument, that they have a desire to see you known and to see you glorified, and that they have a desire to do something that's going to matter in eternity with these instruments that you've placed in their hands. And Father, just as you put a staff, a stick in Moses' hands, and he did many, many miracles with it when you empowered it, I pray, Father, that you would empower these wooden instruments, these guitars, that these people have in their hands right now. I pray, Father, as I teach today, that you would allow me to know exactly what to say that will be helpful for them whenever they're watching it. I pray, Father, as they watch today and as they listen, as they explore the guitar, that what is taught would really be retained and that you would help them. And Father, if they need help from someone else, bring along someone else who plays the guitar, who can help them and just help them to do an even better job of learning and playing. So God, we give you ourselves, and we ask you to glorify yourself through our efforts. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let's dive right in. If you'll open up your book, on the first page you'll see the mission of Guitar Masters. And our mission, as you see there, is to equip believers with guitar and worship leading skills, creating an ever-expanding army of musicianaries who will carry God's glory to the very ends of the earth. Well, let me be honest with you and tell you right up front, I'm hoping you will become a musicianary. That one word says it all. A musicianary is someone who uses music to carry the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news of His great love for us, into places where people need to hear it. You know, music has a power that sometimes traditional methods like teaching or preaching or Bible distribution can't really do, because people will allow music in places where those things are forbidden. Closed countries, closed hearts, closed cultures or subcultures, even with our own country, within our own country. And I hope that you, as a musicianary who's able to play the guitar, will be able to carry the message of Jesus Christ, the knowledge of God, who He is as revealed in the songs you play, into those closed places. God will take care of that. For right now, we're going to learn how to play the guitar. Now, I'm going to assume you know absolutely nothing about the guitar, and if you already know something, well, you're just that much farther ahead. First of all, when you hold your guitar always is pointing out to the left. Now, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, we're going to learn going this direction. And that's just a good way to learn. It's going to be awkward no matter what you do. And so we're going to all learn going this direction. We found that teaching lefties to go this way or righties to go this way works equally well. So your guitar always stretches out to the left. When you hold your guitar, you simply want to rest your right arm on top of the guitar. And this portion of the guitar right here is called the waist. The waist should be resting comfortably on your leg, and your right arm, top of your right arm, should be able to hold it, and you shouldn't have to support the weight of the neck at all with your hand. Well, let's talk about the parts of the guitar as we've already begun doing. This top portion here is called the head. You'll see on your page there's a place you can write that down. The very top there, this is called the head. These metal pieces are called the tuning keys. The tuning keys function to tune the guitar by turning the post and either tightening or loosening the string. As one of your guitar strings gets tighter, the pitch or the note of that string gets higher. For example, let's play one. And as I turn it, you can hear the note getting higher. Or turn the other way, you can hear the note getting lower. And so we use the tuning keys to get the perfect note. I'll show you in the next chapter exactly how to tune your guitar with an electronic tuner. Okay, going on down, after the tuning keys, we have this long part we simply call the neck of the guitar. You'll notice all of these are just like the parts of the human body. The head is connected to the neck. As we go on down, this is called the sound hole. Now the sound hole is actually very important. It's not just for decoration. The sound hole is the reason you can hear your guitar. Whenever we pluck a string, we set up a vibration. That vibration sets up sound waves, which travel into the sound hole, bounce around in the air in the open cavity of the guitar, even bounce around in the air in the cells of the wood itself. And they create a unique sound, and as they bounce around, they travel distance. And as those sound waves travel distance, they get larger and they get louder. And so this is actually a passive amplifier. It's not electric, but it functions as an amplifier to make the guitar where we can hear it. You may have picked up an electric guitar before that has just a solid core body, and if you've strummed it, you've gotten a sound something like this, and you may have wondered why it didn't make any sound. It's because there's no passive amplifier, there's no sound hole to amplify the sound of the strings themselves. So the sound hole is a very important part of the guitar. Now, right down here, as I said earlier, this is called the waist. Going on around, you'll see this part right here. Yours may be shaped like this or a little bit differently. That's called the pick guard. And the pick guard just functions to keep you from scratching your guitar with your pick as you strum or digging a hole in the wood. That's the pick guard. Coming over here, these 6 parts are called the pegs. The pegs go down into the bridge and they hold the strings into this end of the guitar, in the bridge. This little part right here, this white piece made of ivory or plastic, is called the saddle, and it functions to hold the strings up just off the bridge. And this large part down here is called the body of the guitar. You can fill in those words as we go through this. Now these metal bars up here are called the frets. These metal bars are the frets. And this is the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th fret, and so on. Now when we talk about frets, I'm going to refer not to the metal bars themselves, but to the space just behind the metal bar. We're going to call this the fret. So fret 1 would be the space just behind the 1st metal bar. The 2nd fret, the space behind the 2nd metal bar. The 3rd fret, 4th fret, and so forth. The nut of the guitar is this ivory or plastic piece right up here. And between the nut and the saddle of the guitar, the strings are held just off of the fretboard. Now if you turn your guitar like this and you look sideways, you can see that there is a small distance between the top of the neck, which is called the fretboard, and the strings themselves. Now that distance is known as the action. And the finer your guitar, also probably the more expensive your guitar, but the finer craftsmanship that's put into your guitar, the lower the action will be. If the action is nice and low, the guitar will be easy to play because you won't have to press down nearly as hard to get the string touching the metal fret bars and making the chords that you're looking for. Well, those are the parts of the guitar, and we will refer to them throughout the course. Now let's talk a little bit about tuning your guitar. In order to tune your guitar, I always want you to use an electronic tuner. It's a great device that's fairly inexpensive, and it will guarantee that you can sound as good as you possibly can while playing the guitar. You see, if you're doing everything correctly, you may be putting your fingers in the right place, you may be strumming perfectly, making clear sounds as you press each string down, but if even one of those strings is out of tune, it won't sound good. And you'll know that, and you'll wonder what you're doing wrong. It all begins with good tuning. So you need to have an electronic tuner. Now this is a tuner I use. There are many different kinds, but this tuner actually has some lights, and I like to use ones that have some type of indicator lights on them instead of just a mechanical needle that bounces up and down. Some tuners have an LCD needle. Those are helpful as well, but the best ones have lights on them, often red lights, and sometimes in the center a yellow light, as you can see that, or a green light. Now your tuner also has a place to indicate which string you are tuning. Many of tuners will have an automatic string indicator, meaning that when that string is plucked, the guitar or the tuner will sense which string you're trying to tune and automatically light up one of these lights to show which string you're tuning. If yours doesn't have this, it probably has a switch or a knob where you manually select which string you're tuning at that moment. So before we go any farther, you need to know what the strings are called. The strings themselves are numbered and they have letter names. The letter names are the notes to which they're tuned. The numbers of the 6 strings are 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And the easy way to remember it is that the large number 6 is the largest string. So there's string 6, here's string 5, here's string 4, 3, 2, and the smallest string is the smallest number, string 1. Now, the 6 strings also have letter names that they are tuned to. String 6 is tuned to an E. String 5 is an A. String 4 is a D. String 3 is a G. String 2 is a B. And string 1, the smallest string, is also an E, a high E. We have a little sentence to help you remember that. You might feel like you're kind of a dummy when it comes to the guitar. Well, congratulations. This is Guitar for Dummies. And we have the sentence, even a dummy gets better eventually. All right? So remember that. E-A-D-G-B-E. Even a dummy gets better eventually. The number names, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's take just a minute and try to identify the strings. What I'll do is I'll call out a number or a letter name, and you pluck that string. And when you pluck it, I will do it after you, and yours should sound just like mine. All right? If you would, pluck string 6. Should sound like this. All right, string 2. That's right, the second smallest string. String 4. String 1. 5. 3. 2, 1. Good. 4, 3. Is that what yours sounded like? That's 4 and 3. All right. Pluck the B string. Even a dummy gets better. That's right, string 2. All right, pluck the A string. That was string 5, second thickest string. Pluck the D string. That's string 4. High E. String 1. D, G. Very good. G, B, D. Can you do 3 in a row? Should have sounded like this. All right. You get the idea now. Now pull out your tuner and look for the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or the letter names E, A, D, G, B, and E. On my tuner, they're noted right here. Mine tunes both a guitar or a bass, and the top numbers and letter combinations indicate which light goes with which string. So string 6, which is an E, would be indicated by this light. String 5, an A, by this second light. 4 is a D, 3, G, 2, B, and 1, E, and so forth. Now watch this. When I am close enough to the pitch of the correct pitch, when I pluck one of the strings, my tuner will automatically light up one of these 6 lights. This only works if I'm in the ballpark of where it ought to be, but I think I am right now. So let's try it. This should light up string 6. And it does. Let's see if we can get 5A to light up. Yes, it hears it. Let's see if we can get string 2B to light up. So when you're tuning a string, the first thing you want to be sure of is that your automatic chooser is actually choosing the right string. Or, if you're doing it manually with a switch or a knob, that you have manually set it to the correct string that you're tuning. Now you also have a place on your tuner where you have a series of lights, probably some red and, like I said, a yellow or a green in the center. And those lights will let you know if you're below the pitch or you're above the pitch. If you're below, that's considered flat. If you're above the pitch, too high, that's called sharp. Using the tuning keys, you're going to turn them one direction or the other and watch these lights go up and down. Now let me just mess this one up a little bit. Okay. String 6. I'll begin to pluck this about once a second. Actually, it's not close enough. Here we go. All right, string 6 is lighting up. But see how low and how flat that light is? So as I begin to turn it, the lights get higher. I turn it slowly, and the lights get closer to the center until I get the yellow light. And when I have that yellow light lit up by itself, I can feel confident that that string is in tune. Right there. Now I go to string 5, once a second, and that one seems to already be in good tune. String 4, that one's flat, so let's turn the knob and watch the lights come up. And of course you would go through and tune each of your strings accordingly. Always checking to see if the right indicator light is selected. And this one is, because I'm trying to tune string 2, the B string. All right. It'll take a little bit of experimenting with your tuner to get used to how it works and to get the feel for getting your guitar in tune. Now, if you get one of those strings so far out of tune that the tuner cannot sense which one it is, you might need to tune by ear. In other words, get the note close to the note you hear. You can do that by pulling out your chord CD. Put on your chord CD and cue up tracks 41, 42, 43, 45, and 46. You'll see listed in your book which note is being played, and you can actually listen to that note and by ear get close to it. If you're in the ballpark, you're close to it, your tuner should pick that up without any problems. You can also do that by tuning to a piano if you know the notes on the piano. All right, the most important thing about tuning is to do it every day. Because again, if you are tuning daily and you're tuning before you play, you will sound as good as you possibly can. So the very first thing you do is tune whenever you pull your guitar out. Let's turn the page to reading a chord diagram and learn how that works. Now, a chord diagram is really just a picture of the top section of your guitar. It's just this little section right here. And it's just a drawing of that. Where you see that thick black line across the top of the section, that's pointing to the nut, or that represents the nut of the guitar. The vertical lines represent the 6 strings going from left to right. There's strings 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Horizontal lines represent the frets. The first one's the nut, that's the thick one. But then you have fret 1, fret 2, and fret 3, which are normally displayed on a chord diagram. The black dots on a chord diagram represent your fingers and where you should put your fingers. Now, inside those black dots, you'll see a white number. That number represents which finger you should use. It's very simple. On your left hand, hold up a 1, that's finger 1, 2, that's finger 2, 3, that's finger 3, and 4, that's finger 4. One of those 4 notes or numbers will be inside that black dot to let you know which finger you should use. If you look above the chord diagram, you'll see some open circles above some of the strings. That open circle means that this is a string that is left open and is played. It's a string that doesn't have a finger on it. That's called an open string. You'll also see an X above string 6 on that diagram. Now that X represents the fact that string 6 is not played in this chord. We only use 5 of the strings. In this course, the only time we will leave out a string, it will be either string 6 or strings 6 and 5 together, playing just the remaining 4 strings. So check to see if your chord leaves out string 6 or strings 6 and 5, or if all 6 strings are played with some of them being open. Okay, now that you know how to read a chord diagram, look on page 15, and there are your first 2 chords. See if you can look at that diagram, and then looking at your guitar, see if you can make a 4-string G. Okay, take just a moment to make that. All right, here's what that should look like. You should have finger 4, your pinky finger, on the 1st string on the 3rd fret. And if you have good hand position, which I haven't taught you about yet, it should look something like this. But yours may look something like this. This is called very bad hand position. Let's talk about that for just a moment, because hand position is absolutely critical to making chords that sound as good as they possibly can. When you have good hand position, 3 things are in the right place. The first one is your thumb. Your thumb is always put on the back of the neck of the guitar. I'll flip mine over and show you exactly where. Right there. You might even want to put a little sticker just so that you can put your thumb on the sticker, or maybe a little star. Your thumb always goes in the center of the back of the neck. And the thumb should never peek out like this. It's very common for the thumb to peek up or to peek across. But I always want to keep it on the back. The second part of your hand to pay attention to is your wrist. A straight wrist like this is not a good thing. Your wrist has to be bent, or we call it a broken wrist, like that. Now that feels really strange to have your wrist in that position. And you may even have trouble bending it quite that far, especially if you've broken it before or it's a little bit stiff. But work with that and see how far you can bend your wrist. Now there's nothing in our lives we do where our hand is in this position. So the guitar is going to feel really awkward and really strange because your hand is in this very odd position, but it's correct. The third part of your hand that you want to pay attention to are your fingertips, right here on the very ends of your fingers, just behind the fingernail. By the way, if your fingernails protrude past the fingertips, I'm afraid to tell you, on your left hand at least, on these 4 fingers, you're going to have to cut those nails because you'll find that you simply can't make the chord properly. Now, the parts of your fingers that you cannot use are the pads, this fleshy part here. You don't want to use the pad of your finger to press the strings down. You want to use just the very tip of your finger. And if you look closely at my fingertips, you can see that I've got calluses there on the ends of the fingers. When you've been playing for a few weeks, if you're playing consistently, you'll begin to develop some hard calluses on the tips of your fingers, and any pain you're experiencing will start to go away. Okay, now let's try to make that 4-string G again. This time let's use great hand position. So put your thumb on the back, break your wrist, you push it toward the floor. If you can't make it go that way, use your other hand and push it on the inside of the wrist, and you can make it go that way. And then place your 4th finger down on the 1st string, the 3rd fret. Now your palm should not be touching the guitar at all. As a matter of fact, your palm should have what we call a little mouse hole. There should be room right there that a little mouse could poke his head out if he were sitting in your hand. You never want to squish the mouse and put your palm on the back of the guitar, but it's very common to go from this position to this position. So we always want to be checking hand position. If I were there with you live, I would be constantly reminding you about that. You're just going to have to check that yourself. And if you have good hand position, you'll find that you're able to make good sounding chords. Let's strum that 4-string G. I may occasionally tell you to spell it out. That means pluck 1 string at a time and listen to each string. You want to spell that out so that you hear the strings. And notice each string of this chord rings out clearly. There's no thumping and no buzzing. Now if you get a sound like this, that's what we call a thump. That could come from not pressing the string down hard enough. Or you hear a buzz. That also comes from not pressing it down hard enough. Press it down nice and hard, and you can get a clearer sound. You'll also probably get a sore pinky. And I'm going to tell you the truth about the guitar. The guitar hurts. It hurts in several ways, and there's no easy way around it. There's no shortcut. It actually has to hurt at the beginning. It doesn't always hurt to play the guitar, but these first few weeks, it definitely is going to be painful. The first place you're going to feel the pain is in your fingertips because they are sensitive and they don't have calluses, and your fingertips are actually going to hurt these first few weeks as you press them down into the metal and as you realize just how hard you have to press. It can be very, very painful. The second thing that might hurt is your hand itself. This muscle in here might get a cramp, and you can just massage that out. Or your wrist might get tight, and you can just sort of run that wrist around and get it loosened up. You may find that you have a pain coming up your arm because, again, you're holding your wrist in a strange position, and your arm may get, your forearm might get a pain in it. If you feel pain past your elbow up into your biceps, your back of your arm, or up into your shoulder or your back, probably you're just too tense. You just should need to loosen up a little bit, okay? And just relax a little bit into it. Well, it's a painful thing, but the good news is that pain is going to go away. So let's again make that 4-string G, putting down the pinky, good hand position, thumb on the back, wrist broken, no palm touching the back of the neck, and fingertip on the string. All right, good job. Now, look at your chord diagram for the 4-string C. In looking at that diagram, see if you can make a 4-string C. Pause this if you need to, but if you've got it, it should look and sound like this. 4 clear strings. Now you may find that string 3 has a little bit of a thumpy sound, but if you play that, you'll feel that finger 2 on your left hand may be touching it. That's probably because your wrist has straightened out and the pad of your finger is starting to touch it. Watch what you can do to fix that. Press that wrist toward the floor, adjust it so that the fingertip is touching the strings, and then finger 2 will not be going over and dampening a string that it's not supposed to touch, one that's to remain open. Okay, let go of that. Ooh. Shake out if your hand is hurting. All right, let's play a G together, 4-string G. Got that chord? Thumb, wrist broken, push it toward the floor, even a little bit more. Good. And fingertip. Here we go. Strum with me. 1, 2, ready, and strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit more. 2, 3, 4. You're probably getting some pain in your pinky. I know that hurts. Ready and stop. Ouch. Yeah, that hurts, doesn't it? Okay. Fingers 1 and 2 make that 4-string C. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and strum. A nice gentle strum. Just 4 strings. Is your wrist broken and bent? Thumb on the back. Using your fingertips. Adjust that, move it around till you get a clear sound. Ready and stop. Good. This reminds me one thing about strumming. Think about how you pet a cat versus how you scratch a dog. If you want to make a dog happy, you scratch a dog like this. If you want to make a cat happy, you pet the cat gently. Okay, when we're playing the guitar for now, we're going to pet the cat. In other words, our strumming is going to be nice and gentle like this. Not too fast, not a scratching the dog kind of playing, just nice and gentle. All right? Nice volume, doesn't have to be soft, but it just has to be gentle and consistent. Okay, let's play the G again. Thumb, wrist, fingertips. 1, 2, ready, play G. Ready and stop. C, 4-string C. Finger 1, finger 2. 1, 2, ready and play. Good. Let's hold that a little longer. 4 more. 2, ready, and stop. Okay, back to your G. Ready and play. Ready and stop. 4-string C. 1, 2, ready, and play. Oh, I got that one wrong. It happens. Look down at it. Let's hold that a little longer. Just 4 strings. Ready and stop. Now back to the G. Ready and play. Ready and stop. 4-string C. Ready and play. We're going to go to the G this time without stopping our strum. Going to put the pinky down, lifting up fingers 1 and 2. Here we go. Ready and change. Check your hand position, wrist toward the floor, thumb, fingertip. We're going to change back to the C now. Fingers 1 and 2. Ready and change. To the G, ready and change. Ready and stop. Wow, if you kept up with me, that's good. You did a great job on that if you were able to keep up. If not, just rewind this and try that part again, and you will catch on. Now, you're already figuring out some of the truths about the guitar. First of all, it's an awkward instrument to play. It feels very strange. Second of all, it is a painful instrument to play. Now that pain doesn't last forever, but it does hurt. Third, you're finding that, well, it just doesn't sound that good at the beginning. That's because there are a lot of things to get right, a lot of things to adjust. But I want to encourage you to practice doing things well. You know, practice doesn't make perfect. A friend told me, perfect practice makes perfect. So when you practice, make sure that you get it perfect so that you're learning how to do things the best way possible. If you have trouble with any of this, I would advise that you find a friend or a family member, someone who plays the guitar already, and you can have them sit down and show you something that maybe you can't figure out on your own, and I certainly can't figure out through the screen. That's a better way to learn how to play the guitar, is to get someone to coach you live and in person. So if you need that, feel free to ask someone to just give you a little bit of coaching, a little bit of a tip. Most people are glad to help if you'll ask them. All right, let's turn to your practice chart. This practice chart always tells us about what the goals are for the week. Now, we've laid things out in such a way that if you'll just practice what's actually on this chart, no more, no less, you will make great progress, and probably in about a week's time, you'll have the things on this chart done. It may take you a little bit longer, it may take you a little less time, but you can pace this course at your own pace. But I'm going to refer to it by weeks at a time. So this entire course should take about an 8-week period of time to complete. If you look at your practice chart, the first thing that you need to practice is making a clear 4-string C and a 4-string G, and you see the 7 days of the week listed there. We recommend that you practice no less than 5 of the 7 days. 6 is great and 7 is even better, but no less than 5 days in a given week. The second thing is tracks 1 and 2 on your chord drill CD. Pull out your chord drill CD, put it on, and cue up tracks 1 and track 2, and you'll hear me calling out G and C, just like we did a few minutes ago. Practice those over and over. You see, the chord drills are a lot like going to the gym to work on specific muscle groups as you're working out. If you're going to do some upper body conditioning and you went to the gym, you might want to work on, say, your arms, and there might be 2 or 3 different machines that would specifically work out those muscles. You would do X number of repetitions and a couple of sets on each machine. That's exactly what the chord drill does. The chord drills are designed for you to do repetitions on a daily basis to build one specific chord or chord change into what you know. I would spend more time on the chord drills than anything in this course. More time than even on the songs themselves, because the chord drills will help you to gain muscle memory. And that's where your hand learns the feeling of a specific chord and the feeling of changing to a different chord. So spend time with your chord drills. This week, just tracks 1 and 2. You can listen and follow along and play along as well. The third thing is your song. Look down there at your practice chart and you'll have a song listed. If you pull out your song book, that song will be in there. And if you put on your song CD, you can listen to that song played with these exact chords and the exact strumming that you've learned today. Now, using your songbook and your song CD, see if you can become good at that very first song, because you can play one song of praise and worship even with just these 2 tiny chords. And the last thing is that you need to practice 15 minutes or more each time you pick up your guitar. Set aside enough time that you can spend 15 minutes with the chord drills, the song, reviewing the material, and working on what we've presented that week. Well, that's about all for this week, except for our final thing we like to do each week, and that is encourage you with the Word of God. This week I've chosen a verse, 1 Corinthians 10:31, a verse that gives us some great guidance about what we should be doing as we play the guitar. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, including practicing your guitar, do it all for the glory of God." Now, the glory of God simply means God's invisible, unseeable nature becoming visible. So when we glorify God, what we're doing is we're actually allowing the invisible God and maybe His patience or His compassion or His kindness to be shown and to be expressed in a way people can see. So whatever you do, do it in a way that people can see the invisible God as they look at you. And as you practice your guitar, make it an offering to God and say, "Lord, I want to ask you to give me success at this instrument, not for my glory, but so that one day when I'm singing songs and playing music that speaks of you, you will be known and you will be glorified through that." It's a good idea to be praying about your playing, so offer this to the Lord and watch what He does. It's been great to be with you today. And again, if you need anything more, you can always go back and check out segments of this. And I would encourage you to go to our website, guitarmasters.net. There you'll find all kinds of resources and tools, and as you begin to make progress as a guitarist, you'll find more and more that you enjoy those. Be sure to sign up for our e-newsletter. It's filled with all kinds of encouraging stories, with discounts on some things you may want to purchase, and also with free guitar tips and just things that we've learned and picked up from other worship leaders all around the world. That's in the Guitar Masters newsletter. You can sign up right on our homepage at www.guitarmasters.net. Have a great week. We'll see you in Class 2.